The following was originally published in 2018, and while I stand by the critiques of The Last Jedi I make, I deeply regret any direct personal attacks I make against Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, or any other employee of Lucasfilm. Those comments were made in anger and frustration, and I will do a separate video about that after this series.
Okay, before I get started today, I need to get a couple of things off my chest. And please try to understand that the overwhelming majority of you, my viewers, I so appreciate. I love you guys. Without you, I wouldn't be here. The support and appreciation that I've gotten from you is just mind-blowing to me. And every day, I cannot believe how fortunate I am that so many of you like what I'm doing. So that being said, there are a couple of you out there that I need to, let's just say, pick a little bit of a fight with here. There's two topics that I'm going to cover here. They're both related to the same thing, and they're both related to what was in my last video. I've been spending way too much time in the last 24 hours after my last video came out trying to defend the idea that Leia could survive for 2 minutes in space. Now look, I understand that The Last Jedi is a crap movie. Okay. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to my review thus far, even in the videos where I was talking about it, I am not saying that scene was gold. I'm not saying that there was anything good or redeeming about that scene. In fact, I laughed at the scene quite literally because of how stupid it looked to me. So don't start to think for 1 minute that me pointing out the fact that a human being could in fact survive is me defending the artistic choice of that particular scene. There's two things involved. One is what we're looking at realistic, in which case, well, partially, in that a person could survive, although, as I pointed out before, you would be seeing them evacuating their bowels and their stomach and everything all over the place while they were floating in space, not to mention being convulsions and all that. It would be a very unpleasant sight, to say the least. But yes, they would absolutely survive. NASA did the testing, and the reason they did the testing was to prepare for the eventuality that an astronaut might be exposed to the vacuum of space. They weren't doing it just because they wanted to abuse some chimpanzees and dogs. They were doing it because they were trying to see if a human being could survive any prolonged exposure. And they determined that a human being could probably survive 3 to 5 minutes without any lasting damage. Given that, Leia's survival of 2 minutes is completely unremarkable. And if you don't like that and you want to continue to argue that she should have died and you want to try and argue,
well, it was the decompression or it was the cold or what?
No! You know what? The testing has been done. It is not an issue of debate. A human being could survive 2 minutes in space. End of discussion. If you want to argue that point, take it to a science channel, because I will simply defer to science. This is not a science channel, and so I'm not going to be spending the next 6 months of my life arguing over the mathematics of whether or not a person could survive. It's simply not going to happen. Which brings us to point number 2. The velocity at which Leia was ejected from the ship. It hasn't been as bad on my channel as I've seen in other places, but a few people keep pointing out that Leia should be thousands or millions of miles away from the Raddus because of the huge velocities involved of the ships and all that. Well, if you really believe that, then you don't understand Newtonian physics pretty much at all. And it's okay because, newsflash, most people don't understand Newtonian physics. Probably at least half of people don't even know what Newtonian physics are. But in a nutshell, if you are moving through space 1 million miles an hour and you throw a ball off your spaceship and your best throw can throw that ball about 10 miles an hour, guess what? That ball's moving right next to your ship at 1 million miles an hour, but it's leaving your ship at a rate of 10 miles an hour. Meaning that if you were to wait 1 hour, the ball would be 10 miles away from your ship, not a million miles. That little concept, that little illustration blows the head open of a lot of people. And if you can't understand the basic physics involved there, as far as a perfect, well, near perfect frictionless environment such as space, in which Newtonian physics would work almost without exception to whatever minutia decimal point you want to calculate it to, then there's no point in having the discussion. Again, take it to a channel that specializes in mathematics or physics or just general science, not to me. Because I'm going to tell you that am I a physicist? No. However, I do check out most of the physics involved if I'm going to argue about it. And it is pretty much indisputable that Leia would not be thousands of miles away from the Raddus, because she was not propelled out by some rocket force. She was simply propelled by the expulsion of air from the pressurized container that she was in, namely the bridge of the Raddus. And as that air escaped, it pulled her with it, and that is the only acceleration she received. Now, I was estimating that if she was moving about 40 miles per hour, she'd be about 1 kilometer away from the Raddus at the point that she used the force to come back. I don't think that's an unreasonable estimation. A lot of people think that that's like crazy. Well, she should be moving thousands of miles per hour or something. Then you have no idea what we're talking about. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So again, not defending the film. I'm not saying that that scene is somehow brilliant because they got a couple of things right. I think that the things they got right as far as Leia's scene are more coincidence than anything else. I don't think that they did any real hardcore checking on things. They just said, oh, it will be a cool effect. And I still think the scene is stupid. That being said, it's not scientifically inaccurate that she would survive. Granted, we should have seen her pooping and vomiting all over the space, but fortunately, we weren't going for true scientific accuracy here. All right, I apologize for the rant. I guess I've been a little grumpy. A big part of that is probably the simple fact that I've been spending pretty much every waking hour that I'm not working at my job watching The Last Jedi. And it's painful, I'll tell you. It's painful. But let's get into today's review. Previously on the Anti-Trekker, Admiral Haldo's outfit and hair are so out of place that it distracts me to the point where I start making stupid mistakes. Now, I know it is a bit unfair for me to blame Admiral Haldo for my own mistakes, but while this is a non-political review, I never said it was going to be fair. So, in yesterday's video, I said that Luke never set foot on the Falcon again after he hitched a ride to Alderaan and ended up at Yavin 4. But Alex Lethas pointed out that in Empire Strikes Back, Luke was rescued by Leia and Lando on the Falcon. So yeah, I screwed that one up. That being said, I did not give a point on the scoreboard for that one, so no harm done, except that I feel like an idiot for not thinking about it. But thank you, Alex, for holding me accountable. Jerk. As if that was not enough, Unleashed Power then pointed out that C-3PO's red arm was actually missing from the last shot that he appears in from The Force Awakens. Now that I did not remember, so I had to go back, and here we take a look and see what the... Oh, crap. Wait. With no explanation, C-3PO just got a gold arm while sitting around their base during the Starkiller attack? I mean, was everybody fighting at Starkiller base, but some technician was like,
You know, I've got nothing to do. Let me fix that arm of yours.
So on this one, I did in fact give 3 red points for the continuity error, but in fact the error was technically committed by J.J. Abrams in the last film. So, now that hurt. Thank you so much, Unleashed Power, for pointing that out. Jerk. Okay, all kidding aside, I do want you guys to point out little errors like this, because if I'm to make a genuine mistake, I want to be corrected so that the final score for this film cannot be dismissed as containing errors. So yeah, I am truly sorry about the mistakes I made in my last video, and I will continue to strive to be a little more accurate moving forward. Now that I have made my mistakes, admitted my mistakes, and corrected my mistakes, time to make some more mistakes. Look, I'm going to have to talk about the 500-pound purple elephant in the room here. Does Admiral Haldo's character make any sense at all? The answer, at least to me, should be clearly no. Just look at this frame from the film. She is surrounded by 6 women and 7 men, all of whom are wearing military uniforms while she is having to hold up her formal dress in order to keep from tripping on the stairs. Even if you wanted to just say that she has a unique style and that's cool because she's different, just as Leia was different, her choice of clothing is impractical for her work. By wearing this dress, she has created a hazard that is completely unnecessary, and no person who has attained the rank of Vice Admiral would overlook that fact in the name of style. I also find it unlikely that someone with any real military leadership experience would go out of her way to be the only person not only dressed inappropriately for her work, but to be wearing hair color and makeup to draw attention to her physical looks. It's quite frankly stupid. There is a reason that every military on the planet has strict hairstyle and color regulations. Well, maybe not every military, but everyone that I know of. Here are a couple of snippets from the United States Naval regulations on hair. Quote, lopsided and extremely asymmetrical hairstyles are not authorized. Angled hairstyles shall have no more than 1.5-inch difference between the front and the back. End quote. Quote, hair, wigs, or hair extensions must be of natural hair color, i.e. blonde, brunette, brown, gray, red, or black. So why is the military such a killjoy? Is it because they do not want girls to feel pretty? No. But to really understand it, you have to understand what it means to be a part of a military unit. To no longer function as an individual, but as a part of a team closer than any other type of team on the planet. The tight regulations on personal appearance in the military are to ensure unit cohesion. No one person should ever stand out. Period. So fine, if you want to have bright purple hair, knock yourself out. But that shit would not fly in any kind of organized military. The fact that Haldo stands out in this shot so much is a testament to how poor a leader she must be. Further, the fact that the AC does not stand out in any way means she at least appears to take her job and duties seriously, or at least they're more important than her trying to look better than everyone else in the room. Look at this shot. Poe is literally the only male in the shot, with the possible exception of 2 background extras that we can only see part of. But there are 6 women in this shot. However, the only one that stands out is Haldo. Her dress, her hair choice are an insult to all the other women in this room. So Poe introduces himself. This is a person who does not belong in any kind of leadership position. This is a person who absolutely gets off on having power, on exercising that power, on putting people down. That is the last person you want in charge, especially in a crisis situation. Look, if you create a character that you love to hate in film, that is awesome. Darth Vader, Hans Gruber, Harry and Marv. But Haldo is a character that is so smug, so insulting, so condescending that I hate her with every fiber of my being. But later in the film, we find out that she's really a first-order agent. And we find out later that she was overcompensating because of her suffering as a child. She has no redemption necessary because she was right all along. Huh? Oh, unless I forget to mention, do you realize that she refused to share the plan with Poe because, you know, he's a hothead? Okay, fine. And it would appear that Leia and her have been besties forever, even though we've never seen them together before, but okay, why not? So why is it that Leia was perfectly okay with sharing the plan with a first-order stormtrooper not 20 minutes ago, but sharing the plan with Poe is what, a risk or something? I wanted to say the Force, because maybe since Leia being so Force-sensitive was able to tell that Finn was trustworthy, and since Haldo is not Force-sensitive... Oh. but now she is. Yes, it actually came out recently that Haldo is in fact force sensitive. What? Why? Well, that just makes her even worse of a leader. Or maybe the Force is a jerk now, I guess? Subversion. Yay. Meanwhile, Finn is packing a bag and sneaking around the lower levels of the ship, because why not? So while he is sneaking around, he stumbles across Rose Tico. Yeah, you remember her sister from that really cool scene earlier? Don't you worry one little bit. We will not be wasting time with any cool, intense action scenes with Rose. We're supposed to feel bad for Rose because she's crying. We then see that she's holding the same amulet that Paige was holding when she died. So yes, of course, Rose and Paige are sisters. Too bad they weren't twin sisters. Okay, let me be frank. I'm not going to insult Rose for her looks. A character can be compelling and interesting in any shape, size, or relative attractiveness. However, aside from the fact that Kelly Marie Tran and Veronica Ning are both of Vietnamese descent, they have nothing in common, both physically and on screen with character traits. There is no reason to suggest these two might be related, except for the purely superficial level that they are both Asian. Heck, at least Luke and Leia had similar builds. But Paige and Rose have about as much in common as I do with Michael Crawford. Well, we do have the same name, but that's it. In fact, the only reason I call myself Michael J. Crawford is that when I say Michael Crawford, people online tend to think that I'm the Broadway singer. Rose we're supposed to like for, reasons, I guess. And by the way, one thing that I don't understand is that if one of the themes of this film that many people that praise this film try to bring up is the idea that the Force is not about bloodlines. It's not about being born into some kind of special nobility or something like that. And yet we are introduced to a new bloodline in which both sisters are supposed to have some kind of special nobility. So yeah, whatever. After Finn spots Rose, he sneaks away. But Rose then spots Finn for reasons and catches him sneaking onto an escape pod with his packed bag. When Finn turns around, she recognizes him and is all starstruck for reasons. So Rose talks to Finn for a minute about how great he was for leaving the First Order and what he did on Star Killer Base, which was really not much. I mean, he said he knew where the shield generator was because he used to work there, and then he got his butt kicked by Kylo Ren, and that really about sums it up. So Rose talks about how she has been guarding the escape pods because people are trying to escape. So she finally realizes that Finn was trying to escape, and so she zaps him. Rose decides to take Finn to the brig for desertion, and Finn insists that he was not deserting, and then he explains to Rose why he is deserting. No, really, after he says that he's not deserting the fleet, he then says that the fleet is doomed and he needs to get far away from it so that when Rey comes back, they can live happily ever after. So, yeah, that is desertion. But whatever, the Force. Rose says that they'll jump away to light speed.
We can't outrun the First Order fleet.
We can jump to light speed.
Well, they can track us through light speed.
They can track us through light speed?
Yeah, they just show up 30 seconds later and we'd have blown a ton of fuel, which, by the way, we're dangerously short on.
Now, you might be thinking that I'm about to point out that Finn earlier did not believe that you could track through light speed.
They've tracked us through light speed.
That's impossible.
But no, I'm saving that little nugget for later. Speaking of nuggets, I need to go to the restroom and leave my opinion of this film so far.
Hit the like button, you will. Likes lead to comments. Comments lead to conversations. Conversations lead to understanding. Go to Patreon and support the anti-trucker you must, if supporting his videos you want. Yes, support his videos. Then listen to this at the end of the videos. You will not